So, welcome to the next chapter. It's chapter 4 in the book. And the topic is how to enter meditation on the view. It is actually an extension of how to practice insight meditation. Because meditating on the view or in the view is the aim of the whole practice, then leading into the Mahamudra meditation. To some extent, if the meditation in the view is successful, from that point on we can start talking about Mahamudra meditation. The first part of this chapter concerns analytical meditation and resting meditation. And if we are very skillful in using both forms of meditation, then we will find it easy to discover the true point of meditation. True point of meditation is this open awareness that simply knows the nature of all phenomena. If we are not using both approaches, analytical and resting meditation, we will encounter difficulties. Analysis without resting meditation will remain intellectual. It will be the result of logical conclusions. It will be in the realm of dualistic understanding of insights due to reason, due to a conviction that arises from proper thinking. And resting meditation, simply resting, will remain dualistic, will remain within the sphere of our normal habitual patterns, establishing oneself in the cocoon of just being, but without sufficient awareness and without knowing, without seeing. And it might very well be a resting meditation, still afraid of the movements of mind, still not at ease with the sensory input. A resting meditation that understands itself as a calm established away from the rest of the world. So what Tashi Namgyal in these opening paragraphs wants to tell us is, please be aware that one without the other, an analytical meditation without the capacity to just be and to settle, will remain intellectual, and that just settling without stimulating the insight into the nature of what's happening will remain static and, of course, dualistic, with a very fine non-conceptual observing activity going on all the time. This is due to the remaining fear. The fear is not conscious, it is the wish to protect the calm. This wish to protect the calm and not to lose control, not to completely open up, continues in resting meditation if it is not being challenged. If the regard is not turned towards the one meditating, or towards the observing attitude, or not turned towards the sensory appearances, that which we think might agitate the mind. So to give you a little definition, analytical meditation uses what we call in English inferential cognition actually it's Latin, based on critical investigation, using scriptures and reasonings. So what do? We have a text or a teacher which discusses an idea about reality, and in that teaching, this view of reality is being challenged. And we are being asked to deeply consider the points in question. To give you an example, a famous one. The question would be in the intellectual reasoning, does the universe exist of single units which then build up on each other like units of matter or units, and also our emotional world, units of time, units of thinking, which then add to each other to make up the whole world? Or is it a one whole? Is it all just one? Now you can investigate this in order to find building blocks of existence. You would need to actually find, and you can try to do that with logical reasoning, a single building block that one would be able to define. So one would go down to what concerns matter, to the molecular structure, to the atomic structure. We would try to analyze how can we define where one building block stops and the next one begins. And then one would have to find out, is this really an atom, something which cannot be subdivided? Or is this building block, again, does it consist of several building blocks joined together? So that is the search for the unit, the building unit. And we know nowadays, this is all with our intellect, we know this, of course based on machines which do research, that we cannot find the last building block of reality. There is no such thing as a stable atom which cannot be subdivided. We talk about subatomic particles moving and so on. We go into endless further subdivisions. And if we cannot find such a single building block of reality, then how could we say that reality is made of many of such building blocks, that these particles build up to form the material world? Now, in the same way, we could investigate time. If we say time is the continuity of units of time from the past into the present into the future, and we live these units of time, then of course we need to ask ourselves, how long is this unit of time? What can we find? Where does one unit stop and where does the next one start? And if we have such units of times, then they must connect, so they must touch each other. If we say, for example, a microsecond is such a unit, then the one microsecond joins with the next, and so on. So within the microsecond, we again have one part joining with the previous one and one part joining with the next one. So at least we have these two parts, if not three, which would be the middle, the one where it actually happens. And again, we don't have an undivisible time unit that we could consider. That's the building block of time. So this is an example of challenging ways of thinking, going to our beliefs on reality, like matter exists. But exists of what? Building blocks of particles, or is all matter one matter? This we can also, by personal experience, we can abandon this idea. Time, we think time exists. We work with the concept of time as if time existed. But logical analysis already shows us we are not in one time, because time is changing, there's movement, it's not one eternal time, so it must be a succession of small units of time. But then we don't find them, neither in experience, nor are they logically possible to be indivisible, tiniest units. And this kind of examination we can do for any aspect of our life. For example, we believe my fear exists. I have fear. And it's so strong. And it's stronger than me even. Then we look if we can find fear. We would have to find fear definable, describable, to be existing at least for one moment in time. Now, if we don't have time, we don't find anything existing in time. We cannot define a time unit, and everything that we think exists in time, where does it exist? Where is its place of existence? It only exists, it appears, as a continuity of experience, continuously changing, and the so-called fear is not stably present, not present enough to be described as a stable phenomenon existing for even a single moment in time, because we can't find the moment, and on top we can't find an unchanging mental state, be it emotional or non-emotional, it doesn't matter. So you see, that's logic, that's logical analysis, which was very much taught, like I teach you now. I'll give you a few examples. Around the turn of the millennium already, 1st century after Christ, 2nd century after Christ, this was the kind of discussion they were having in India, and it started a little bit before that time already to become really dominant. And such very good teachings establish a logical foundation for taking apart misbeliefs in reality. And it's very helpful to know a little bit about that. But most people are lazy, intellectually lazy. Like even this, maybe 10 minutes I was talking about it now, to some of us it could already be bothering. Oh my God. Like inwardly. And this is the intellectual laziness to examine our belief systems. And we could apply such logical examination to all areas of our life, and it would make us really become aware of just how much we are ourselves, subjectively, the architect of our world, our belief systems. Incredible. What we think about the body, what we think is body, what we think is mind, what we think is time, what we think is space, how things happen in space, whether they exist or not, and so on. All these beliefs, and then the names we give to it, and the concepts about it, and all these incredible belief systems that we are walking around with. So that's you can say, the understanding, the cognition based on logical deduction. Some of the principles also are logical ways of leading ad absurdum, leading into absurdity, the existing belief system to just take our existing beliefs as if they were true and then show the consequences of that belief if we were really holding it for true. If I existed truly as I think, for example, the consequence would be I wouldn't be able to change. If I think I'm like that, then I should be like that all the time. If I think there is a seer in this seeing, now for example, that as I'm looking into the camera and you are maybe looking at me, then we are seeing, the process of seeing happens. Now, if that is the idea that there is a seer, someone seeing, where does this seer, when you close your eyes and there is no more seeing, what happens to the seer? Okay? What happens to the thinker when there is no more thinking? What happens to the lover when there is no more love? And so on. All of these, just by showing the consequences, if I identify with a set of personality traits, to such an extent as saying, this is me, then where's the room for change? Oh, this then people, when you confront them with the logical consequence of their thinking, then people say, oh, I didn't want to say that. Then I ask, well, what did you mean when you say, I am like that? You should say, right now I feel like that. Okay, that's closer to reality, but you are not like that. Who are you when you completely relax? You don't even know, but maybe that is much closer to who you are than the one you are when you fabricate all kinds of things which are falling apart. Okay, you see, this is like logical thinking. It's not in the realm of meditative investigation yet. It is just deconstructing our beliefs about reality by using our good old intellect. And this critical investigation actually is very helpful. It prepares a meditator to meditate without so many preconceived ideas. Really, truly exploring reality. Most people sit down for meditation without ever challenging their beliefs in reality and solidity and what they think is good, what they think is wrong, and so on. They meditate with the full power of their habitual patterns and their belief systems. And they will stay in those belief systems. They will nothing will change. They will just have a little rest, a little relaxation. So, but although this is very helpful, then finally, analysis, even if accompanied by introspection, by using meditative procedures to look more and more finely, then this observing mind, which wants to understand, finally also that needs to be abandoned. And the analysis has to lead beyond all these words, this terminology, the references, the reference, this is the reference points, always that which I investigate and that which I understand. So these are the reference for someone understanding. So finally, it has to go beyond all of that into direct cognition. Direct cognition is the capacity of mind, of consciousness, to understand directly. Direct seeing, direct hearing, direct understanding without further interpretation needed. Now this was about analytical meditation, and some schools are very fond of that. And a part of the Mahamudra approach that we use in the Kagyü tradition uses also analytical meditation. This is the period in our practice where we use all these probing questions, where we ask, who is thinking, what's the thought, what's the difference between active mind, calm mind, what color has the mind, where does it stay, and so on. We probe into the experience with questions. And first there will be some analytical answers due to reasoning, then we learn how to relax the analytical reasoning which has prepared the ground, and we learn to simply direct the attention and relax, open up into the experience that is opening at that moment. So we We use a moment of analytical, interested directing of the focus and open up into that without continuing with analysis. And that's something you will learn a little bit about in this chapter, because that's where the deeper insights of direct cognition arise. That there is this aha of knowing, not due to logical reasoning, but due to a fresh experience of just now, how it is. So let's now talk to the fans of resting meditation. True resting meditation uses direct cognition, this capacity to know without going through concepts and inferences, deductions, while remaining in equipoise, so while remaining in a very balanced, non-attached, equanimous state, where there is an experience of just so, suchness we call it, abiding in suchness, also called the natural abiding state. So that's true resting meditation. The fans of resting meditation, only when you hear this, it sounds so relaxed and it sounds so true, so you want to go directly there. And we would like to directly rest in suchness. And teachers will tell you, teachers like myself are very fond of that as well. And then I will encourage you to simply abide naturally in suchness, just so. And you will try to do that. But what happens is that the meditator constructs an idea, now, you can maybe notice this happening right now, of how it will be to stay in suchness. And then will you follow that idea, and you will emulate that idea, and you will produce an artificial meditation which you call resting in suchness, but it's a fabricated suchness. Not the suchness, not abiding in the nature of mind, open to all what happens. It is like entering a little box. Inside that box is suchness, and outside the box is no suchness. Big misunderstanding. Suchness is everywhere. So abiding in suchness means abiding in the nature of all experiences. No need to fabricate anything. Whatever experience arises, every experience is good for that meditation in suchness. It is not a calm, protected box into which you enter, you close the door so that no one comes along, and you stay there for the time you want to relax. That's most people's idea of meditating in the natural state. Their natural state is a natural state away from the rest of nature. They would find it very disturbing to sit with lots of sounds, visual impressions, physical movements, physical challenges like temperature, wind or something. The outer nature is a very tough environment. Everything changes all the time in nature when you meditate there. So people construct huts, protections, they wall themselves in, and they make these closed atmospheres for meditation. Then inside of that they meditate resting meditation. And they think the calm experience there would be meditation and suchness. But it's actually entering into a box. So let's be aware of that. And here, bringing in analysis can kind of throw the doors open of that meditative prison. by using our intellectual capacities to understand the problem and to say, yeah, I need to meditate with all the sensory experiences. Meditation cannot be away from the senses, it has to be inside the sensory experience. So then I invite seeing, I don't close the eyes. I invite hearing, I don't stop the sounds of my neighbors. I invite physical challenges, meditating with all kinds of physical postures, with temperatures, with wind, and so on, with all of these challenges. And I invite emotions, because why should meditation be away from mental movement? We can look through. And this is where you see that the analytical understanding leads us to a different way to meditate, and then within the meditation, analytical meditation helps us to look into the nature of the experience. That's what Tashi Namgyal means, that the two need to join. So back to the chapter where Tashi Namgyal explains that resting in mental calm, shamatha, allows for wisdom to clearly analyze the actual experience. When I use the word wisdom, it refers to prajna, this capacity to differentiate and to know. So the first important understanding is here, within shamatha, within mental calm, we use that distinguishing capacity of mind, which is interested to know and which can know. And as a first step, this insight meditation, which uses the basis of a clear, calm mind, this Vipassana meditation, uses conceptual thinking and non-conceptual analysis. So within the meditation, you will use the concept, for example, of a question. What color has mind? If mind exists, it should have a place where it exists in a shape and with a color and with other definable characteristics. So we are going to search for that. The conceptual question, and of course, first, there is a conceptual answer, or can't find a color, or the mind will say all colors, or oh, it's bright luminosity. So there will be answers based on the experience, conceptual answers to a conceptual question. And we can, of course, use also all the very elaborate logical reasonings and test them in our meditation. And this, what precedes the conceptual answer. When I say to myself, oh, mind seems to have all colors. Before that was a non-conceptual analysis. I was looking with the question of what color has mind, and I notice when I look on something green, everything is green. When I look into red, it's red. And so on. It takes on all the colors of whatever appears. If inwardly whiteness is visualized, then all of mind is white. If inwardly blueness is visualized, all of mind is blue. If I visualize multicolored patterns, then mind has multicolored patterns. Itself, it does not seem to have a color. It seems to be like a chameleon. So this is what students will normally say when I ask them this question. So before the conceptual answer is a non-conceptual experience where one has the attention directed into the area of mind and color. into that field of experience. And this is the typical phase of the initial first phase of Vipassana practice. For example, in Theravada meditation, then we are told to meditate on anicca, impermanence. And the students will hear anicca and think, and I think, oh yeah, impermanent, yes. Oh yeah, it's changing, huh? Yeah. Ah, that is also changing. Yeah, it's true. I can't really find anything which is not changing. And there's this conceptual commentary going on, and then maybe the teacher says, try to find something which is not changing. And then one looks, one tries to find. And always the experience preceding the conceptual description is a non-conceptual experience. You cannot have an experience in a conceptual way. The experience itself is non-conceptual. And it's being analyzed. And that analysis gives thinking, further thinking processes. But later on, the experience of intellectual investigation, this calms down. One has come to the end of that. One has kind of exhausted the intellectual inquiry. One has come to conclusions which are to some extent satisfying. One sees one cannot go further. Now the intellect comes to the limits of what it can do, and one stays in a non-conceptual meditation where there are no more words appearing. Or very few, but they are not important. No more sentences. But the mind is still in an analytical mode. There is still an interest in a certain area, wanting to know and feeling, and without verbalizing, there are understandings of the process like nature which are appearing of the... For example, now I'm doing this. I'm doing the meditation of investigating time. How does time feel? There's an abstract concept, time, and then there is the experience of ungraspable change. Now I put words, but as I was meditating it was analytical meditation without words. Okay? So that's the second stage of Vipassana. Non-conceptual, analytical meditation, which is very helpful because that is, you could call it a focus. There is a direction to your meditation. There is an interest in just how it is. And we are kind of producing non-conceptual material of investigation. For example, now I can still remember how it felt when I was doing this short investigation on time. There is a memory track running along with the investigation. How it feels to experience ungraspable time, and there is an observing quality, and there's a memory track created, a memory of this experience, of these, let's talk in normal terms, of these several seconds of experience, and I can refer to this memory track of a non-conceptual experience in order to make my conceptual analysis. I can talk about it. I can refer back to it. Can I have something to make a nice sound? Or give me my bell from the shrine, maybe. I will show you how that works with a sound. So, listen carefully to the sound. Now, let the sound experience of this bell ringing reappear in your memory as good as you can. You understand? You are not producing words, concepts, in order to hear the sound in your memory. You are hearing the sound from a non-conceptual memory background. And now, try to see if your memory corresponds to another one of the sounds of the bell. How was your memory? And how is the actual sound? Okay, maybe you were close by, maybe you were a little bit far away. This is called verification. Verification of a non-conceptual analytical presence which has registered a memory track on which we can base some further logical and talking, investigation and so on, and then we go back to the experience and we verify. Now this is what this is what happens in meditation as well. We experience that one thought, like, oh, it's Mother's Day, disappears. Actually, it's wrong. Today is not Mother's Day. Thought was there, has disappeared. And then we have a memory track of a thought disappearing, and it's a non-conceptual memory track. Is this the same with another memory track, with another thought appearing? Oh, a mouse is running around. Thought gone? Thought still there? Okay, and then we see, if I'm being asked if the thought is still there, the thought reappears. Is this true with every thought that is gone? Do I just need to be stimulated so it reappears? How is that? So like this we have the non-conceptual analytical meditation creating a very vivid experience to which I can refer. And then this is compared to the Dharma teaching, what the teachers say. Does it correspond? Do I find the truth of what is said in the teaching, or is it false? I go back again and again and again and again. Hundreds and thousands of times there is verification happening whether thinking processes actually disappear by themselves without doing anything. And how they reappear, and whether they are exactly the same as before or different. I verify whether I can find a self. And then later I verify again, and it's every time it's a non-conceptual memory. And this is called analytical meditation of a non-conceptual kind. It's extremely important. And then this is the second stage of Vipassana. Let me see if I've explained everything. The meditative insight does not rely further on conceptual thinking, but still uses non-conceptual analysis or examination. Vipassana analysis of the present experience ensures also that the resting state does not slip away, for example, through arousing alertness when noticing dullness or agitation. This I have not explained yet. So here then we go away from this analytical meditation and we go to a more simple way of meditating, resting. Are you still undistracted? This normally no one would ask you. You ask it yourself. You verify yourself whether you are still undistracted. And this is a moment of analysis. You look, everything okay? And this analysis will tell us whether we need to correct something or not. If that moment of non-conceptual looking into just how it is tells me, oh, mind is getting dull, mind is getting sluggish, then reaction, maybe I straighten up the posture, or I tighten the focus, I sharpen the focus on breathing in, breathing out, or open the eyes wide. I apply remedies. I balance that beginning dull state of mind, the sluggishness, with something that gives more energy. That's the effect of a short moment of analytical meditation leading into a correction of the resting meditation. Same thing if analysis shows, oh, overstress, too much effort, too much getting agitated. Of course, I'm using words now, but the analysis which sees the agitation is non-conceptual. Then a moment of inner advice, conceptual mostly. For most people this advice is kind of as if an inner guru were talking. But as you progress in your meditation practice, this inner correction, this correction process does not need verbalizing. The adapting one's meditative presence happens without the need for conceptual processes. And there's a little relaxation. Opening. Remembering that there is no need for effort. Okay? And that's constantly going on in your meditation. Everyone in the room here is doing it. So you're constantly combining resting meditation with analytical meditation. And finally, this is the final stage of Vipassana, that is the Vipassana free of conceptuality and analysis. Both of these processes are not used. And here, some people cannot follow, because how is it, what happens if this analytical regard, this looking whether everything is okay, when that is not maintained anymore? This is exactly the question, what happens if there is no more control? So, if you have a bunch of children playing, what happens if you let them play without an adult controlling? What happens? It's like this we feel in meditation. What happens to this mind when there is more relaxation and no one fabricating and no one controlling? And that's when the nature of mind shows. That's when the nature of mind, the natural qualities of mind take over. There is no extra work, no more effort, no more conceptuality and no more analysis. That's the experience of natural mind. True Vipassana. Let's go further, another step. Oh no, we make a break here. We make a break because Otherwise you get exhausted. So see you in a few minutes or whenever you have time.